There is no question, of course, that Darren Wilson caused the death of Michael Brown by shooting him, but the inquiry does not end there. The law authorizes a law enforcement officer to use deadly force in certain situations. The law also allows all people to use deadly force to defend themselves in certain situations. So the grand jury considered whether Wilson was the initial aggressor in this case, or whether there was probable cause to believe that Darren Wilson was authorized as a law enforcement officer to use deadly force in this situation, or if he acted in self-defense. I detail this for two reasons. First, so that everyone will know that, as promised by me and Attorney General Holder, there was a full investigation and presentation of all evidence and appropriate instruction of law to the jury, to the grand jury. Second, as a caution to those in and out of the media who will pounce on a single sentence or a single witness and decide what should have happened in this case based on that tiny bit of information. The duty of the grand jury is to separate fact from fiction. After a full and impartial and critical examination of all the evidence in the law, and decide if that evidence supported the filing of any criminal charges against Darren Wilson. They accepted and completed this monumental responsibility in a conscientious and expeditious manner. It is important to note here and say again that they are the only people who have heard and examined every witness and every piece of evidence. They discussed and debated the evidence among themselves before arriving at their collective decision. After their exhaustive review of the evidence, the grand jury deliberated over 2 days, making their final decision. They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments. I'm ever mindful that this decision will not be accepted by some and may cause disappointment for others. But all decisions in the criminal justice system must be determined by the physical and scientific evidence and the credible testimony corroborated by that evidence, not in response to public outcry or for political expediency. Decisions on a matter as serious as charging an individual with a crime simply cannot be decided on anything less than a complete critical examination of all available evidence. Anything less is not justice. It's my sworn duty and that of the grand jury is to seek justice and not simply obtain an indictment or a conviction. I do want to say that, look, during this extremely tense and painful time that we have, the citizens of this community should be, and I know are, very mindful of the fact that the whole world is watching and watching how we respond and how we react. And I would urge each and every one of them that with the loss that was suffered by the Brown family, no young man should ever die. This is a loss of a life, and it's a tragic loss regardless of the circumstances. But it's opened old wounds, and it's given us an opportunity now to address those wounds, as opposed to in the past where they just fade away. For how many years have we been talking about the issues that lead to incidents like this, and yet after a period of time, it just sort of fades away. So I urge everybody who's engaged in the conversation, who's engaged in the demonstrations, to keep that going, to stay with that, not to let that go, and to do it in a constructive way, a way that we can profit from this, a way that we can benefit from this by changing the structure, by changing some of the issues, by solving some of the issues that lead to these sorts of things. I join with Michael Brown's family and with the clergy and with anyone else and everyone else, the NAACP and the Urban League, and every government official and every private citizen that you've heard in urging everyone to continue the demonstrations, continue the discussion, address the problems, but do so in a constructive way and not in a destructive way.